Hey guys, I wanted to do something a little different today, something that I call a Roblox Retrospective. Today I wanted to talk about the game Project Star. This is a game that came out in March 27th of 2021, or at least it was created then. When it was released, I'm not too certain. I know before this game was released, there was a bit of a build-up to it. I heard from a friend that they had a Discord that they were constantly giving development updates about, and it was something that was really anticipated for a while. Now, when it first came out, it had millions of visits, and it was extremely popular because it decided to do different ideas than similar products such as Your Bizarre Adventure. The first thing that they decided to do is they decided to do it in part 3 of JoJo in Stardust Crusaders. In this, they introduced an entirely new storyline in which it was interesting, where it covered sort of like an alternate timeline of if Dio had made something called Brando Industries and had invented these arrows and had grown these roca plants to make almost like an army of stand users. And while the story is interesting, it is short, and something that it really had that was interesting and a little bit better than Your Bizarre Adventure was it had like side quests, it had raid event bosses, it had dungeons in which you could do with friends, and overall it felt as if it was almost like a pseudo MMO. And through that, they also had different things such as, let me find it real quick. They had stand attributes as well as skins, and compared to YVA, the skin rarities were much easier to obtain, and it wasn't as blatantly pay to win. Now, I feel like while this game was extremely great concept-wise, extremely great map creative-wise, it sort of fell flat for most people because of what had happened. From what I believe, I remember hearing some sort of controversy happening with the game itself, and from my research, it seemed as if the original developers had either got lost interest in the product or had jumped ship. So a lot of the stuff that they had planned was canceled. So I remember hearing things about such as Part 4 being introduced, being able to go through a storyline in Japan and being able to travel between these maps. Now, when it comes to most popular Roblox games, they tend to monetize it regardless, with game passes, in some cases paid access. And then there's also things that tend to annoy me to certain degrees, too. I feel it takes the fun away, such as rolling for stands or cosmetics with Robux. Now, when it comes to Roblox games and games in general, I think it should be designed for fun first. And while some people do enjoy the aspect of gambling, I think it's innately a toxic aspect to games which shouldn't be in place. I think we all have heard of Bethesda's horse armor, or you've heard of like subscription models for cosmetics or games. I think the most egregious version of that model is The Sims. All the DLC they release for a game together is over $1,000. But they give you in little bits. It feels like they add all this content to the game, which makes it a lot better, and then in the next installment they remove all the content and give you just a very basic product, and then re-release that content as DLCs for the next game, which I feel is both scummy and also anti-consumer. I say that because I brought up the developers' history simply because due to the loss of developers or loss of interest in the developers, this game essentially flatlined. There was planned content, there was planned skins, there was planned new stands, there was planned quests, there was a lot of things that got cut, and there were a lot of things that never happened that let people down. And with the loss of new content that's progressively getting added, which I feel when it comes to a pseudo MMO, where it's lots of players playing and enjoying the content, you need to constantly sort of drip feed content into something like that to make it long running, or at least make it something that is pretty much infinite. You see, for a lot of MMOs, they make lots of expansions, or they add new quests and new areas. If you don't have new content for a long period of time, people will leave and then abandon the product. However, if it's something more infinite, something akin to Infinite Generation with Minecraft, or infinite because of the community making content, such as mods, that tends to make games stand almost the test of time. I know, for example, Minecraft and Skyrim, both of them have heavy modded communities that take care of basically keeping it lasting. From the communities that come from modding, communities that come from exploring these infinitely generated games, or perhaps people creating their own content based off of a platform. Roblox, for example, I feel will stand the test of time simply because of the community it has. Roblox itself doesn't even have to make any games anymore. The community makes games, and they use the platform of Roblox to play on it. And because of that, I feel like it will honestly live forever, regardless of the things that some people dislike about what the company may do. Now, this game, it still gets a decent amount of people in it. Nothing like it used to be, though. And the former content that is planned for it, I have no idea whether it is actually going to come or not. The point I'm trying to make is I feel like this game is the story of lost potential and what happens when developers let down a audience. Because while this did a lot of things in the right direction, it did keep things interesting with quests, events, bosses, etc. It did get stale because once you completed all of them, essentially all that was left was to grind for items and get rare stands or get attributes of specific stands. Essentially, you end up, the fun of the game, or the reason why people play the game, is to just simply grind RNG. And if not that, spend Robux to pretty much get to fast pass their way there, basically paying real money, essentially to bypass the gamble. And this game, however, unlike stuff like YBA and A Universal Time, this game feels more akin to that of an open world game. You have a main story, you have side quests, you have events, and you have dungeons. This feels more like an open world RPG, and one that, personally, in my opinion, is not geared towards a combat-centric or PvP environment. This stand, for example, I just equipped, I can't even use it to attack right now without going through some sort of skill tree. And it's not to say that I can't grind out this stuff. But just basic things such as heavy attacking cost stat points. The point is, I feel like it's less designed for combat and PvP and more designed for the exploration and for the quests. And when months and hell, even a year goes by with the developers not adding more quests or story or dungeons, the game becomes, it stagnates and people leave. So, this game had a lot of potential, but with the developers' inactivity to really reach that potential, I feel like most of the player base for this game has died, and most people on Roblox don't even know it exists. I remember when this game was extremely popular and big, that me and my friends would play it. But now, the same friends forgot the name of the game even exists. I remember when I did play through this initially, yeah, I thought it was better than YBA in all aspects, and that it was a killer for it. I remember thinking that opinion back then, that if they were to just simply polish the combat and to just make it feel slightly more polished, then I believe that this game could be the best JoJo game on Roblox. But as I've said before, almost ad nauseum, it had amazing potential, but it failed to reach that potential. And that's why I feel like this is a retrospective instead of a review. I'm looking back on it when it was big and it was popular. The game inevitably has pretty much died. Yeah. This game has 18.9 million visits on it. In the span of a year, it had garnished over almost 19 million visits from individual people, and yet there's only 34 active people playing it on the website. This game used to have thousands of people, to the point where my friends had to get their own private servers to actually get any sort of drops from it, because that's just how it worked. This game is heavily reliant on drops, and it's heavily reliant on basically gambling your time away for a better product. I feel like that's why it is the story of lost potential, to repeat myself yet again. It even says so on the website itself. This project has been out of development for months. We've moved on to different projects. To all players who still play, the game will be up and running for you to play. So not only is this a story of lost potential, this is a story of developers abandoning a game after promising players a product, before and after its release. Thank you for watching this retrospective. One little quick update though, alongside these guides, retrospectives, I'm thinking of also doing game reviews on Roblox, but I'm not sure which one I wish to review. As for actual sort of gameplay, I was thinking in between these sort of more formal videos of doing live streams of just gameplay. And I feel like if I do put any gameplay on YouTube, it's going to be through streams, and these more formal videos would be for actually, refined videos would be for retrospectives, reviews, and tutorials. And I will definitely see you next time.